Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Tech Tuesday and Taken Flight. My name is Dr. Haifa Mamar. I am the Executive Director of Emerging Technologies here at Full Sail University. And today we are here at the Full Sail University Orlando Health Fortress and streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I have the pleasure to be with my dear friend and co-host, Dr. Heather D'Artez, with me today.
Hey, guys.
And I hope you guys are going to enjoy today's topic. Heather and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago and just looking at how things are changing from my side, where from the technology perspective, with all these new AI tools and new technologies that are popping up every day. And then Heather was talking about her perspective from the business side and how these technologies are impacting the business. And we're seeing how everyone is reacting when it comes to all these new technologies. You have the resistance, you have the motivation, you have the embrace, like people are embracing it. So we decided to talk about this today on how to thrive through change, how to stay resilient, how to stay motivated in the era of AI and emerging technologies. So, Hi, Heather.
Yeah, no, and I think this is a great topic because I think from both...
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, both perspectives. In education, AI has really turned every business on its head, but I think specifically in education, we all kind of panicked in the beginning of like, oh my gosh, how are we going to adapt to this change? And are students ever going to learn foundational skills? And like, what are we going to do about this? And I know all of you are impacted too in your day-to-day by technology. And there's tools coming out every single day. Do any of you guys ever feel overwhelmed by the stuff that's coming out? Like, how do you focus properly and know what tools to use, right? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today.
Before we start, I want to have a big shout out. Look at this room today.
We have a full house today. Yes, we have the
so welcome everyone.
So thank you guys. Yes, thank you for being here.
Woo-hoo.
It's awesome to see this fortress filled today.
And welcome to everyone online as well.
Yes. Thank you guys for joining us. So just so you know, we're going to have a portion at the end where you guys can ask some questions of our panelists. So make sure you have your questions ready. And that goes for our in-person audience and for our online audience. So we hope that all of you are very engaged. So I get the pleasure of welcoming our guests to the stage and our virtual guests also to the stage. But I'm going to start off by introducing Alex Thomas. Alex is the CEO and president of Dazzle Me Media. Please welcome Alex to the stage. Thank you, Alex. Next here in person, we have Rob Petrosino, who came all the way from South Florida just to join us today. He's a Chief Information Officer of Peak Activity.
Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. And then joining us online, we have a Full Sail graduate of our digital marketing degree. Kristen Reneski is a squad manager in business insights for Dynatrace Certified Associate. So welcome, Kristen. And then also joining us today, we have Noah Rosenberg, who's the co-founder and CTO of Wolf Games. So welcome, Noah. Thank you, guys. So we'll start by allowing you guys to share a little bit about your background and experience. So Alex, would you like to start us off today and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure, absolutely. First off, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you, talk with everyone about our business. Again, my name is Alex Thomas. I am the CEO and president of Dazzle Me Digital, DBA of Dazzle Me Media. Our primary focus is that of digital marketing. We target the Caribbean market, including the destinations, resorts, and tour operators. Our primary focus is web development, SEO, SEM, social ads, and content development. In an ever-changing landscape of digital marketing, it feels kind of appropriate to be here in light of all the changes happening through emerging technology, AI, and so it's a good fit for me.
That's awesome. Thank you for taking time out today for us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Rob, tell us a little bit about what you do. I know I just mentioned one of your titles, but you have multiple titles. So can you explain to the audience what you do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at a South Florida-based technology company that helps in digital transformation. The company's name's Peak Activity. I've been doing that for just under 9 years now. And over the last 3 years, I was appointed underneath the prior administration and retained my role underneath the current administration as a consultant for the U.S. government on artificial intelligence. So I help the FBI, Customs and Border Patrol, Department of Homeland Security, as well as a bunch of subdivisions as they look at artificial intelligence and then adopt it within their organizations, which is a bulk of what I do in the private sector as well for companies from retail to energy. So it's been a wild ride over the last 3 years, to say the least. So I'm really excited to chat today.
Amazing. Yeah, you've been busy.
What a cool job. Awesome.
Well, thank you both for coming today in person. And then online, we have, I'm going to say, start with Kristen. Kristen, can you please welcome Full Sail grad? If you can please tell us a bit about yourself and what you do today.
Yeah, it's great being back at Full Sail in the same way that I attended virtually. I'm currently a manager at Dynatrace, which is a software intelligence platform. So what we do is we monitor and optimize application performance, and we also use AI and automation to just help provide some real-time insights into that performance with a full stack. So that's the performance in the back end. But my team, what we do is we look at hands-on best practices for the front-end performance. So that is more of the website, so what the end user experience is. So we're really more focused in on the real user experience and making sure that performance is top-notch. And we provide best practices and help demystify what the data means and ensure that the user experience is best for those users.
Thank you, Kristen.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for coming with us today. And then Noah, can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, everyone. I'm Noah Rosenberg. I'm a CTO at Wolf Games. Wolf Games creates daily viral crime games, kind of in the spirit of your favorite procedural TV show, with ripped from the headlines, personalized stories that live alongside the other content you love. Our first game is Public Eye. It launches this summer. It's for armchair detectives who's always wanted their chance to solve a crime. My background, I'm a serial founder. I've been building in AI for about 10 years. I launched the first generative AI app to hit #1 on the App Store called Picasso, and have been building with AI since. I did another startup called Sundial, which was in the augmented reality and spatial intelligence space. And outside of that, I've had leadership roles at Ascension Health, one of the largest hospital chains in worldwide technology, one of the biggest builders of data centers. And my whole thing is about building AI-first gaming that can deliver personalized storytelling, Hollywood-grade storytelling at scale with kind of real-time story building and creating entertainment experiences that have never existed before.
Awesome.
Well, that's amazing. What an impressive panel we have today with us. Thank you all for your time. Heather and I, we really appreciate it. Okay, so today we said we're going to be talking about how to stay resilient and motivated in the era of AI and emerging technologies. We've been seeing, on a daily basis, a lot of change. So there are so many trends that are coming up, so many AI tools, so many new emerging technologies, and we're trying to make innovative changes and to impact our work environment, to improve the industry, to improve what we're doing on a daily basis. So with this kind of technological change that is unprecedented, like, yes, we've been witnessing change for some time, depending on the industry, but in the last 2-3 years, I want to say that kind of took like a big how to say it, growth.
Yeah.
I want to hear from each one of you on, let's start by how do you stay informed and ahead of the trends like generative AI, spatial computing, automation, or any other emerging technologies that are emerging now and touching your industries? And please, Rob, you want to start us? Go ahead, because I know you have a lot to share today.
For you guys, we were joking about, I have a lot to say about everything. So, The short answer here is like how you stay ahead is you put yourself in a situation where you can apply what's currently happening to the assumptions you're making. I have these principles, and we've worked on these principles with our clients. And the one we're going to talk about here shortly is CYA, but not the CYA that you probably remember, but cover your assumptions, right? If you can build a safe base to understand and explore tools, that's the way that you can learn and apply them to the situation. So the real learning that happens now, specifically within the technology space, and even more specifically within artificial intelligence, is testing, trying, and understanding what's happening. But the only way you can actually do that is by creating bounds that you can work within that are safe and feel applicable to an issue that you have. So that's your covering your assumption, is make a set of assumptions, understand the technology, apply it to those, and work within that safe space so that you can actually learn and apply it. Because there's going to be hundreds of headlines during this session alone about something related to artificial intelligence. The application of the technology is really the big part for me.
I agree.
Well, what I would say is that, as a famous Greek philosopher said, there's nothing constant but change. And I think we all face this. For us, what we try to do is keep our ear to the ground, reading up on a constant basis, identifying opportunities that we can grow our business. So we do that by, constantly staying in touch with our peers, listening in to what some of the thought leaders have to say, and what some of the larger organizations are bringing to the table. And then we try to identify the opportunities that would help us to grow our business. And in doing that, it helps us stay at the forefront of things that are happening. So for me, it's a matter of, just kind of reaching out and really identifying, listening to what some of our leaders in the industry are saying, and how can we apply that to our partners and to our clients. Mm-hmm. So it's an ongoing process. We're always looking to learn and identify those opportunities.
Thank you. Kristen?
For my side, we looked at our own pain points and what was causing us the most trouble. And we looked at how AI could make it better for us. And then we took it bit by bit. So we didn't look at solving all of them at once, but what kind of AI would help us solve the problems the best. So we looked at first how to make our lives easier with solving some of our client pains and how to make figuring out how to resolve what was making their sites worse. Easier, which was looking at structural causal machine learning and using that to read all through their data and look at that to be able to use predictive analysis to figure out what pages were most likely pain points for the clients and use that to then formulate our analysis around. And that was the first bit of AI that my team started to use based off of our data science team creating. And the next one is we're looking at using a large language model AI, and our data science team is looking to create an AI using that to help with our training, because that's another pain point for our team, is being able to train more efficiently. So we just take everything piece by piece and work on adapting ourselves to that.
I love that. So at least you don't get overwhelmed with everything coming at you. So kind of managing that piece by piece is amazing. How about you, Noah?
We've been building for about 2.5 years with this goal of being able to ship a daily crime game. And so we got started on like GPT-3. And, you couldn't see where things were going to go. So we just said, hey, this should be possible now. And that goal, that North Star, has really pulled us forward in looking for tools and things we could accomplish. At the beginning, it really felt like we had these just massive barriers to being able to get this done. But it started to feel like each week they would fall. Like we wanted to synthesize speech. Oh, we have to go invent that. Nope, that gets released and there's a tool and you can build it in. And so it came from this process of like continuing to try to climb or to surmount harder and harder challenges. And what you end up doing is walking around with a bucket of problems that you have, your list of problems. And then every week you'll just kind of naturally encounter solutions, updates and, products trying to get your attention. And you start to match those to your problems. But I think the core thing that enables this the biggest piece of advice I'd say is that time skills are shrinking. I used to run an agency where we built websites and we would get 6 months to ship a website. And that's shrunk down to 6 weeks to 6 days. And sometimes you're mad if it doesn't happen in 6 minutes in one of these vibe coding platforms for you. So the expectation of what you can get done in an amount of time has shrunk. And the way you meet that is it turns out, have more things you're trying to get done. And you run more experience and you find more problems more quickly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking more about how you can have that website in 6 minutes and whether that's a good point or not, like whether that's a good approach or not.
Yeah, that can be overwhelming if you think about it. Like, it saves us time, but then the deadlines get shorter. So it's kind of like, you have to stay on top of it, right? So with that being said, Noah, I know you manage a team of people, as many of you do. Let's talk a little bit about how you can manage your team as a leader. Like, what are some ways that you can remain resilient as technology just keeps changing the work environment every day?
No, I love this question. I think the first time a lot of people have approached it, they're like, what could we put in place? What systems could we put in place? Or like, what posters could we hang on the wall in the office that tell everybody, here's how we're going to work now?
Yeah.
And that's not, that's funny, but like, that's how we did it when I worked for the hospital system. It was sort of this slow internal communication system. And I was always frustrated with that. And what I've learned is the best way to get people aligned is just to get a shared mental model going. And often that's going to be something in the form of an analogy or a visual that everybody can take and apply how they want to. So for us, one of the ones that I've been encouraging everybody to think about is the idea that when you're building with AI and new trends are coming all the time, and there's always this risk that GPT-6 is going to come out and just do everything you already built. So you're feeling like, what could I do now that has lasting value? And it turns out that those fall into 2 categories. And building right now feels kind of like building on the beach. And what I mean is you could spend a lot of time building a sandcastle and come up with strategies on how you do that. But at some point the waves are going to come in and wash it away. And so you think about, if what I'm working on is for now to create a wow experience for our users now, to communicate an idea now, but not to be lasting. And you start to think about it in that mindset, changes how you think about what you want to do, how you're going to go about your work. It's not about permanence, it's about communication. On the other side, when you want to build for permanence on the beach, you sink pylons, right? You go really deep and you build permanent structures that are going to make it from day to day. And so you have this decision to say, hey, I'm going to build something simple but permanent that's going to enable us to build more in the future. Or is what I'm building for that communication or for that moment? Or is it more about this shared experience than it is about recurring permanence? And for us, that's been really helpful to think through things like infrastructure choices or even marketing decisions, brand. How long do these things need to last and what is the job that they're doing for us?
That's awesome. So it's like you're building Venice on.
Yeah.
I love it. So my next question here is for Rob. And this is about really lifelong learning. I mean, all of us are forever learning, right? Because technology is always changing. And what advice do you have for our audience on navigating this? You gave a really great example earlier about somebody that you work with. But, there's right now like micro-credentialing, certifications, degrees, like all of these things like end up being like, oh, you need to learn more about AI. You need to learn more about this skill. What do you say about that?
Yeah, so I think a big portion of this to start out with is there's no absolutes when thinking through any of these, right? Whether it comes to certifications or technology, right? There's no definitive path or definitive this certification or this master's or this PhD is going to unlock Y anymore. And I always relate that back to one of our lead architects. He's been working with Peak Activity for almost the same amount of time as I am, almost a decade, just under 9 years. And he just recently got his GED within the last three years. So we hired him because he didn't get an employment opportunity from a customer of ours. So we scooped him up because he had the demonstrable skills to be successful. And I think that's a really core fact to think of here is when you have a certification, whether it's from an accredited university, whether it's from Udemy, whether it's from YouTube University, right? That is one step on the rung, but the continued growth that you have is really comes down to what you can demonstrate related to that. So that's the core here is there's no absolute path, there's no definitive path for success in any of these ever-changing technology spaces, but being able to move forward and tell narratives about what you're able to accomplish is hyper-critical these days.
That's awesome.
Anyone else has anything to add about lifelong learning and micro-credentials?
What I'd say is that in our company, we try to instill a culture of constant growth and learning. And so we make it something that's actually fun, right? We know what we do good, and we know where we have some opportunities for growth. And so we try to use that as a barometer for what we can do differently in our business and how we can grow. And generally, that involves tapping into emerging technologies and new platforms. So it's important from a cultural perspective that we embrace change and that we embrace education. So it's constant learning, digging into new platforms, new resources to try to identify opportunities for both our business and for our clients.
Awesome.
Yeah. So with the number of AI tools that are being developed on a daily basis, that are being pushed to the user on a daily basis, or even technologies, sometimes we don't know even where to start. A simple example for me, it's not something that I really wanted to improve on a skill that I had. I was just curious about how to say it, like photo generation, AI tools. And then simple Google, I'm like going there. I mean, I know kind of the big ones, but I wanted to see what other tools existed there, and then I got so overwhelmed with the number of tools that existed there that I didn't even know where to start or which one to test. And I think I signed up for 5 or 6, and then at the end I ended up not using any of them. But the question here is, how is there, since you do this on a daily basis in your job, like and so on, how do you, or what's your process for choosing that AI tool that you will be using in your industry that is helping you achieve a task or something in your industry? Noah, I know you had a good answer for this one specifically.
In terms of choosing tools, yeah. So for us, that's really been the core thing is that the skill set moving forward, what you're describing is really the skill set of being a technologist. And that comes to how do you pair and partner a problem with a solution that's out in market? Because we live in a time right now where we're actually being like assaulted with solutions. There are so many different tools out there that we have to learn how to build an intuitive sense for ourselves of an evaluation loop, kind of, right? So as you went through this, now you've gone through kind of the level 1 assessment stack of kind of defining the problem. You knew you wanted to edit a picture and then doing a survey of tools. And now you kind of have this bucket of both problems that you'd want to solve and potential tools. And you've kind of got your antennas up that you're listening for solutions that could be out there. And I think, we used to think of engineering as this skill set of memorizing patterns in code in a way. Like if you're a trained engineer, you kind of know all the things that can go wrong and ways to design around it. And that skill set is quickly becoming the skill set of a technologist, which is maintaining a mental inventory of problems that people want to solve so that when you can see a new solution out there, you can partner them together. And it sometimes goes the other way. When you see a solution, you're like, what problems is this solving that I can bookmark and remember and come back to later?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Anybody else? I know, Alex, you had...
Sure, I'd love to build on that. Haifa mentioned curiosity. Recently we had been, reading some content, came across an article that was referencing an app that was used to improve photography. And, we checked it out. We tested it, played with it a bit. And it was really interesting. Of course, at the moment, we didn't actually have any use for it. So we just kind of shelved it and held it there for future reference. Well, lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, we had a new client come on board. And he was trying to identify a better approach towards taking pictures for his e-commerce site. The photography company he had reached out to, his business happens to be located in St. Martin, had extravagant cost, and it was over his budget. He wasn't able to do it. So I happened to mention to him that I come across this site, and I think it'd be a great fit, and I'd like him to take a couple of pictures. Well, lo and behold, we went from 4 or 5 sample shots to rolling out almost 1,500 images. We were able to save him time and get the project done, and it looks absolutely outstanding. Now, the interesting thing is that the photography company had the same opportunity, right? They had the ability to take the pictures, but they were using Photoshop to do their editing, which inevitably prolonged their project and increased the cost. So here was an example of being able to use AI to improve the images and the content that we're putting on the site, saving money for our client, and in the end, the photography company actually lost out because they were not embracing the new technologies that were coming out. So I think there's opportunities in these.
And you bring up a good point, Alex. We've been saying this for some time, is that when it comes to whether it's a job interview or even sometimes any kind of job, knowing AI tools can help you actually get the job or get that market versus somebody who does not. So it's an extra skill. Once you have those skills, you can gain a lot from versus somebody who does not have or resist to that change.
Yeah,
and to know
that was an opportunity for your company and a missed opportunity for your competitor, right? So that's wonderful that you're able to adapt that way.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk a little bit about human skills, like the importance of human skills. So with such a focus on technical skills, I think sometimes we are afraid that AI is going to take over the world. None of us are going to have jobs, and we're just going to be homeless and dying or something. But there is so much. Sorry to be negative. There is so much importance to creativity and having a human touch. And Noah, you had a few slides I know you wanted to share. Can you take us through that example and kind of talk a little bit about how important human skills are still in the equation?
Yeah, happy to. And this is pretty specific to what we're working on. So, we're all about ripping from the headlines and turning it into a fun experience for players. So one of the things that we do a lot is we take an existing news story, put it into an LLM, and get a game level. So here's an example of a news story that was running. I just snapped it today of a very complicated mom who disappeared. And so if you take this news story and you put it into ChatGPT, ChatGPT 5 right now is the best AI ever created by humanity, right? So this is state of the art, as good as it gets, the absolute, and it gives you a 5-line synopsis. And so as we're thinking about these tools and where our skills kits come in, it's really easy to think, I'm going to get automated away. The next version of this tool is going to take my job. But it's still doing the same thing. Here on version 5, it's doing what 3 and 4 and 4.5 all did. And what is that? Well, that's trying to find that very average result that everybody will be kind of happy with. That doesn't know who you are, doesn't know why you want it. It's a goldfish every time you come back to it. And so it's going to generate this very cliche, not very useful output. If you go to our tool, we've worked with Hollywood screenwriters to understand for them what is the best output that they would like to have, that they would want to take forward and present to our audience, and what information is most useful. And so we build our own system of prompts and tools that allow for the LLM to build this really detailed story that tells you who all the characters are, to make sure that they're all there, make sure there's a killer, and make sure that the red herring suspect doesn't accidentally go on to commit the murder because the generation failed, and make sure that the murder weapon in these crime games, and make sure that all the evidence that you need to be there at the end was there at the beginning. All we're talking about here are two key skill sets that differentiate. The first is taste. Right, so Hollywood screenwriter, what is that? That's a person who's just spent so much time writing that they understand what good writing is. Oftentimes can't even explain it. They just say, well, it's not bad. Right? They just know where the good stuff is because they've trained their sense of taste. So taste is really important. But then the other thing that differentiated them and will differentiate creatives going into the future is process. So the other thing is a Hollywood screenwriter doesn't just sit down and write. They don't just open Word and start writing. They have a process, how they think through it. What are the requirements of the story? Where do they hope it goes? How do they sketch it out? And so those two things are going to give you consistent, constant advantage over the LLMs because the LLMs are designed to give you the least objectionable output in the shortest amount of time. And so refine that sense of taste by being a deep consumer of what you're trying to make and developing your own internal evals of what's good and what's bad. And then define your own process of how you can work with AI so that you can be the best at using AI, right? Because we're all going to have to use these tools. But that doesn't mean that we're all equally good. And so there are advantages to be found here.
Yeah,
I love it.
There's still an opportunity for your creativity to shine through. So there's hope for us,
Massive.
as humans. Do any of the rest of the panelists have anything to add to this? I know, Kristen, you made some points earlier about the importance of humans, the human touch.
Yes, I run a team of analysts and customer care specialists, and we interact directly with clients. And half of the value that my team provides to the clients is through that human engagement. I've been told so many times that the value that they provide is not from the analysis that they give, but from that interaction. They're a trusted extension of our client's team. And it's not because of the analysis or the AI tools. It's actually because they come to the meetings, they engage, they ask, how are you? How are you? How was that vacation you just took? They engage with the clients. They go that extra mile for them. They hunt down answers to their questions, even if it isn't related to our role specifically. But the clients know that if they ask a question to my team will move heaven and earth for them to get that answer, regardless of whether or not it's under our job role. They will do it. And that aspect of human touch is something that AI is not going to give them.
That's amazing.
So I love how you ended your answer because it's kind of bringing me to the following question. Of course, automation is impacting many industries right now. And many workers are looking at automation and they are fearful of being replaced by AI. How do we go about changing that fear into motivation and opportunity versus like just closing on yourself and being so negative, suicidal kind of in a way? Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, happy to start here. One of our golden rules whenever we work with an organization, whether it's on the government side, whether it's the private sector side, is human first and last. Right? So if a human is starting the process and then that process is enabled by automation and artificial intelligence, then the human should also be at the end of the process. And we've all have human in the loop or human is the loop, but that human first and last is really, really critical regardless of what the technology is. If you take that principle and apply it to an individual contributor's job, you look at the lowest 20% that contributor ranks as parts of their job they don't like. If I took away the bottom 20% of the organization, individual contributor's job, that means they have 20% of their time to work on the things that they want to work on. They can go through the process of upskilling and training themselves on what they want to be doing. They're going to be obviously an optimized workforce now because we've integrated technology. And probably the most important aspect of this is their employee satisfaction of the job they do today is going to be significantly higher. Yeah. So I think that that's the real core here is if we think human first and last, and we apply that in the right method and approach as far as organizational structure and implementation, you wind up having mutually beneficial between the org as well as the individual that's doing the job.
And that brings us to our conversation earlier about micro-credentials. When you're upskilling, you're learning a new tool, you're learning a new skill, and now that micro-credential or lifelong learning will put you at a different scale, which now makes you a key player in the company's like revenue or like, growth.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and that kind of ties in well with the next question, which is all about maybe a personal experience that had led to a career breakthrough. And I'd like to hear from each of you. I know almost everyone here had a really great example of when was there a time that you adapted to an unexpected change, something that came up? And it doesn't have to be related to technology per se, but was there ever a time where you adapted to an unexpected change and then that led to a complete change in your career? And Rob, I'm going to let you start with this because I love the example that you gave.
Yeah, this is great. So for those of you that don't know me, my college major was fine art and more specifically sculpture. And I am now a consultant with the U.S. government on artificial intelligence for 3.5 years. Now,
related. Very related.
Yeah, very clear, distinct delineation of major and then current career path. The reason that I kind of got pushed into the emerging tech space was by maybe speaking out of turn during my first week on the job with the current employer that I have at Peak Activity. We were sitting in a room, we were discussing spatial computing and augmented and virtual reality, and I brought up a principle related to sculpturing and carving in relief or extracting something from this, and that fast forwarded to me probably speaking out of turn and then getting a project that I had no idea what I was doing. But in that moment...
But you're curious. You are ambitious.
Yeah,
and then it opened the doors to you.
I rarely know how to shut up. That also helped. So that kind of propelled me into this path and this direction of what I do now. And I think that a big portion of that is not looking at what you've done as the end-all, be-all, but using it as a stepladder to move forward, right? So the common saying, we stand on the giants of the shoulders of the giants that came before us. Often enough, we're the giant that stood before us, and we're standing on our own shoulders. So you just have to apply that sometimes.
I love it. Alex?
Well, I can take you back to 2005. At the time, I was working with a resort company. I was a regional sales manager. I covered the U.S. market. And, we had been kicking around some ideas to try to generate, new avenues of sales and revenue. And I had just been tinkering around with SEO at the time and just kind of trying to learn that. And so I threw out the concept. I said, hey, guys, why don't we run some Google ads? And they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, Google ads? What are Google ads? Well, we set up a campaign and we rolled it out. And the response was enormous. It was like a whole new line of direct bookings. And the response from the hotel was so positive. I knew at that moment I had something. Mm-hmm. And I held on to that. It was years later that we opened up our first digital marketing agency. But really, it was just taking that chance to test something new and learn how that works. And ultimately, it has propelled me to this day now where I'm 14, 15 years down the line running my own business in digital marketing. And I can draw that all the way back to working with the resort.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
It was a life-changing, almost like a pivot in your career when you took that leap.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Noah, I know you have an example, too, you wanted to share.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this a little bit more. I made my way through college working as a journeyman stripper, which isn't what you think at the time.
I was like, oh.
In printing, everything before it got printed had to go out into this big piece of film, and we would pull the films apart and line everything up and make sure that the ads could get inserted into them. So you would strip the film.
Haifa had a totally different vision.
So, and thinking that, remembering that time, it was the transition when everything was moving to digital, and I could only do that for a couple of years because a machine came in.
Yeah,
do that for us.
Your skill became antiquated and old school.
I was the loom guy, wanted to throw my wooden shoes into the loom, but actually, it turned out that I just had an aptitude for digital, and so I was the guy who was best at working that machine. And I got to see that whole transition go from old school X-Acto knives into digital press and printing. I got to see this whole thing happen where nobody would print a photo that came off a digital camera because it like didn't count as a photo. It was beneath contempt to them.
Wow.
This trash that came out of a digital camera, you would never run with that. And eventually, of course, now, film is almost gone. And so we got to navigate a bunch of these transitions to the point where, I kind of got used to that. And so about kind of just right after COVID, I was working on a spatial computing startup in AI, just nothing to do with any of that stuff. If you made a Hollywood script about it, they'd have to tone it down. They'd say this is too crazy. And this journey brought me to launching a spatial computing startup where we were trying to help people track their food through the camera. And we were using the earliest version of GPT to kind of characterize what was in these foods. And so I was really well positioned with all these weird different stories of creating generative AI and using GPT to now grab this opportunity that we're working on now, which is creating bespoke stories on demand that are playable and have all the fun of a game. Like there's no way to predict any of that, but it all looks like a straight line, if you stand in the right place.
That's incredible.
Love it. Kristen, how about you?
Well, my story is a little different, but just to set the stage. I actually love your
story, Kristen. So I think I should say.
But just to set the stage a little bit, I worked in financial aid for a little bit with a sociology degree. And my coworkers were a little bit cliquish. And one person in particular was a bit of a bully who took to complaining a lot about her degree in marketing and how it would get her nowhere. And she did like to bully me quite a bit. And so I took it upon myself to prove her wrong that a marketing degree would get her nowhere. So I decided to get a marketing degree. So I got a digital marketing degree at Full Sail, graduated, and within 6 months got a job with a digital marketing job. And then from there, got headhunted a couple of times, got paid to move out of Florida, and now I'm a manager with a digital marketing degree. So I think I did end up proving her wrong that you could get somewhere with a digital marketing degree.
It was just out of spite.
I love it.
Okay, well, not necessarily turned on technology, but at the same time, I did turn my life around on technology.
Awesome. I love it.
We still have just 5 minutes here for the questions. I want to give the chance to everyone to hear, to ask questions, and also our online audience. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and they will get to us. The last questions that I have for our panelists, I want to ask if you could recommend one skill or competency to invest in today that will remain relevant in the next decade. What will it be? We're going to go through. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
It's fine. So a little bit more of a theory, maybe not a soft skill or a durable skill, however you want to call it. But it's really about being nimble. And nimble is not moving quickly. And it's not moving, ultra fast. It's not moving super, super slow. But it's looking at the proper path to go forward, right? Making assumptions and then proving those assumptions moving forward. And that really comes down to when you make a decision, understanding like the second and third order of effects, right? If I have a sandwich today and I have a blood test tomorrow, then my doctor's going to get mad at me because my carbohydrates and sugars were high, which means I'm going to go on statins, which means I'm not going to take the medicine, which means I'm going to have more sandwiches. So that's not like a really good path.
That's playing the system.
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit. But that second and third order effect or understanding what that means is critical for every decision. So that's the one I lean on to is don't look at the immediate impact of something, but also look at 2 and 3 degrees down the line.
Love it.
Wonderful.
Alex?
Well, I'd say that technologies, platforms are constantly changing. But adaptability is always in style. And at the end of the day, the ability to pivot and change in the direction that the industry is going is vital to your growth. Where you start today is not where you'll end. So you're constantly growing and learning. So to me, it's a matter of adaptability and being to tweak and adjust yourself according to the trends and directions that the industries are going.
Noah?
Yeah, I love that. And I think just the tip that I had the experience of doing a little bit of improv comedy. And in improv comedy, you get together with your friends and you rehearse and you build all these structures of how you're going to work together. And then you get on stage and you take a suggestion from the audience, like you welcome the chaos. You're like, we don't know what's going to happen. Help us get there together. And I think that the skill sets and the trust that that can build with other people is really, really important, particularly as we're all heading into a future that nobody can really predict right now.
Yeah.
But you can come up with your own rhythms and ways of working with other people to lead to success.
I love that. Yes, come up with your own thing. Kristen.
I have to echo Alex with adaptability, because the skills and tools that I took with me from Full Sail, I don't currently use, except the knowledge and some of the ideas from Full Sail. I still use those, but I've tweaked them and I've updated them to what I currently do. And a lot of the ideology I still use, and how I learn things I still use. So that's still valid. But the actual tools that I used while at Full Sail, some of them I can't access anymore. Like a similar web I don't use anymore, but how I used it, I still apply to other tools that I currently use. And that's still valid.
Awesome. That's great.
Thank you. Well, look at that. I hope the production crew is happy with me.
I know. I
feel like
we're
29 seconds before time. Okay, so now we are going into the Q&A. If you guys have any answers here in the Fortress, we have a mic in the middle. Please go ahead. We would love your name, department you're from, or if you're a student, which program you're in, and then go ahead and ask your question. Hi, Dan. Good.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Williams. I'm a course director from the Web Dev degree.
Hey.
And, and my main question is, how do you guys deal with the main issue of hallucinations in AI? Like, I think one of the best examples is lawyers are sometimes using it now and turning in briefs that are actually like citing fake cases. So I was wondering how you guys handle that, and I would love to hear how the government is handling that as well.
Yeah, a couple things. One, that case from New York is like 2.5 years old at this point. If that intern just paid the $20 for a paid version of ChatGPT, there's a literal custom GPT that says U.S. case law that they could have added and would have saved them a lot of heartbreak and getting disbarred. So that's like
Can
option
I add
number
something
one.
there? I want to say you don't need to pay the $20. Maybe that's the added element of a human element, and then go check your answers.
Yeah, so option number two is like trust but verify as far as the process. And then as far as hallucinations go, structurally when it comes to artificial intelligence, when you're using a one-to-one tool, meaning you're just like logging into ChatGPT, there's not much that you, the individual user, can do. On the technical end of things, you can turn down creativity, you can add other agents for fact checking, and there's a lot more functionality that you can do at the enterprise level when you bring those tools into a system for the reduction of overall hallucinations. But the principles that we just talked about, like trust but verify, right? Do the right thing. Don't just copy and paste. Those are probably the leading ones. And those all apply at the U.S. government level as well. So that's really the same answer for both.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know that anybody else can add anything outside of trust but verify.
Yeah, I want to, never trust.
This next question is kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe we should direct it towards Noah.
Yeah, that's a Noah question.
So,
yes, go.
Noah, using AI in gaming, how many different games are there now for people with disabilities, and which ones haven't yet been created? It's a tough question. What do you think?
That's kind of a Russell's teapot. Like, how would we determine that? Like, kind of can't, it's falsifiable. But I love the spirit of the question. So the spirit of the question, I think, is actually one of the core values of AI that gets missed a lot, particularly amongst creators who kind of just use the word slop, or just kind of think like, hey, if an AI made it, I don't want it. But the power of AI right now, the best thing it can be used to do is create adaptations and remappings. So a huge opportunity space is to allow a creator to build a game the first time. And let's say they're building it toward typical thumb-based controls, and they want to really perfect the gameplay loop and make it feel really good for players. But then you got to think through, how do I adapt this for people who can't use the touchscreen? They're playing with their eyes, for instance, which is a common accessibility issue. How do you adapt color for color blindness? How do you adapt sounds? And so the ADA space of accessibility is quite broad. But the magic of AI is that you can take your finished game and apply those fixes individually to each person or each player's needs. Now, how wide is that? I think is the challenge. How widely uses that? And partly it's because of the stigma around AI right now, particularly in gaming, is that a lot of the majors aren't quite doing it. But I think, to me, I'm really excited about seeing AI for those areas that can take something where there isn't necessarily big enough market to invest in a very particular solution that satisfies one individual's needs. But boy, the AI can sure do that. And you can create one-off accessibility accommodations in ways that have never been possible. It's a super exciting emerging area.
That's awesome.
I mean, for me, I think the way to look at it, we shouldn't just say, is there a market for that? Maybe the same game, we can create a version of it for players with a disability. So that way, you're not putting your whole development team on a game that maybe you don't have that many users for. So you have kind of a balanced revenue from both. So you have one version of the game that is your regular game, and then another version depending on the disability. But as you said, there are so many cases, so many different ways of doing it, so you don't know which one to go to exactly. I love the next question, and feel free here to answer. What learnings do you suggest to someone wanting to break into AI?
Well, I'll speak to this, but in a slightly different manner. I hope no one is expecting me to create AI, but we sure do use it. And when it comes to what learnings are in order, for us, it's a matter of application, usage. Yeah. How do you use the AI, and how do you apply that to your business and to your client needs? Obviously, the first thing is having fun with it, right? I mean, it's not, sometimes folks get a little scared or stressed out over these resources and tools. But at the end of the day, once you start to use them and apply them to what your needs are, you find that it's not difficult, that there are a lot of applications that can improve your efficiencies and help you to deliver a better service. So I wouldn't say, from my perspective, that there's a particular thing to learn, but I think it's, again, the openness to the change in technology and to embrace that so you can obviously improve and go forward.
I totally agree with that. Rob, did you have anything to add?
So break into AI is kind of loose.
I think what they meant probably is how they can start using AI in their industry or field.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's the application of AI in an area that you're interested in, would like to gain employment in. So then it's like, what tools would that industry gravitate towards? Let me learn those tools so I look more marketable to someone hiring in that area.
Exactly.
Right? Like, that's the great option. The other kind of side of the coin, if they were interested, would be like, how do I get into an AI company that's like building AI, and that's dependent on your background and what you want to do. If you want more business analyst and project management versus being a PhD foundational model researcher, right? Those are very different paths to potentially walk on. So akinning yourself, having a growth mindset, maintaining a goal and striving towards that and taking incremental steps to get there, regardless of either path, is probably the best bet.
Yeah, because there's so many different routes you can go depending upon your experience. And I think also looking at if you see a job in AI that you're like, I want to have that job, figuring out, like, working backwards and being, this is the skills that are needed, and this is maybe the degree that I need. This is the path I need to be on in order to get to that end goal. So I know we have another member of the audience here to ask a question. So your name and your degree program and your question, please.
So I would like to say thank you all for coming, and it was really a very informative session. So my name is Aaliyah, and my degree is in entertainment business.
Cool.
So I actually have two questions. So the first one is, as AI automates more repetitive tasks, Which human skills do you believe will become most valuable in the workplace? And how should students be preparing now?
It's a great question. Any volunteers?
I think Kristen or Alex were talking about automation earlier. Go ahead. I mean, everybody talked about that, so yeah.
Well, I will say, similar to my previous answer, I think the ability to adapt, right, to identify opportunities and be willing to adapt to new structures, new workflows, right? It's critical. There's been many businesses in the past who have floundered because of their inability to adjust and adapt to a changing world. So again, when you say, well, how could we, what could we do? I think being open and being capable, again, you need the structure where you are now, and then you need to be looking towards building upon that, right? So again, adapting your workflows, adapting your approach, embracing technology, to me is the skill that will propel you forward.
Exactly.
I will also say communication skills. I just know based on earlier today when I first started talking, myself, my own communication skills I'm constantly improving upon because I'm used to just talking through Zoom and not in person that often. So when I start talking, I tend to be very blunt, and that's not always the best way to approach things. So when I am talking in a professional setting, I do always have to remind myself to elevate my own speech. So that is something that is always important to work on. And that is something that AI can help with and work on making things more efficient. But something to also remember is when you do rely too much on AI to improve your speech, you can tell that. AI does have certain speech patterns, especially with written communication as well, that if you do rely on it, you can start to understand when it's AI speech versus human language.
That's true. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're good? Did you have your answers?
Did you have a second
have another
question?
one? Okay, go ahead.
The second question is, could the convenience of AI actually dull human problem-solving abilities over time, even as it makes us more efficient in the short term?
That is an excellent question. I think Kristen was just kind of speaking to that a little bit, right? Like if you depend on it too heavily, right, then Kristen, do you want to elaborate on that just a little bit more?
Yeah, so I can actually also offer another example with interviews. So I've seen several interview candidates across a couple of different industries where they've submitted their resumes where you can definitely tell the ones that have had AI read over them because they look identical.
Yeah.
They flow the exact same way.
Exactly.
Their experiences are all different, but the way they're all set up are identical. Mm-hmm. But you can tell when the resume has been, the experience on it is from someone who has spent time putting it out from their own experience. They put in their KPIs that they've built. There's passion in there. So you can tell when it's something that they actually feel about versus when it's an AI written thing. It's very cut and dry. So AI can really help you show what's important, but when you're trying to show your passion, that's not there. And the same can be said with problem solving. It can really help you identify a problem, but when you're trying to show the different solutions and show what the best solution forward is, it's not necessarily going to help you convince someone what the best solution is. That's going to come from how you display that information and how you're passionate about it. And that's where the communication style comes in. And that's a different skill set that it can help you learn that skill set, but how you really grow it is going to be based upon your own journey.
That's a great answer. Are we good with that?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
for your question.
you. Okay, the next question is, how should educational institutions be using these tools and how should we be teaching them to our students, specifically in the computer science field? I feel I'm going to answer this question. I'm fine. I have this, Ra. So I'm not going to be talking about educational institutions. What I'm going to be talking about is what we do here at Full Sail. At Full Sail, we embrace artificial intelligence, but we want to make sure that we're using it ethically. So having an ethical use of AI is very important in everything we do, and that's what we try to teach our students as well. If we can bring back that question, please, because there are two parts of it. Thank you very much. So that's what we do here at Full Sail. There are so many tools, as we've been saying, depending on the industry. So even for us as educators, sometimes we go through a whole testing process of like which tool is best for our students, or does it even make sense? Which tool is going to give an added value to our students and improve their resume, help them with their portfolio, and so on. So, and from an emerging tech perspective, and I will have Heather talk from entertainment media, the emerging tech perspective specifically, and the computer science field, we approach things differently when it comes to AI, because computer science students are becoming the developers of tomorrow that will be building the AI, which is completely different from other users who will be using AI. So for students in computer science to be able to develop AI, they need to know how to develop from scratch, develop it to begin with. So we cannot just give them a problem and give it to the AI model and then get the code and this is how you're learning. No, you need to really learn the foundation of computer science, how to build from scratch, how to problem solve. And then from there, then this is how you go into let me build an AI tool. Let me see how I can improve things from an AI tool or add extra features. So for the computer science field, I want to say that understanding, learning the foundation is very important, and that's why in emerging technologies, first half of the program in the associate, we don't have anything AI, because we want to make sure that you guys understand. Do we have emerging tech students here? Your game dev, computer science?
Yes.
Everybody emerging tech, cyber, IT, web. So again, we want you guys to learn the foundation and get everything, and then we will go in the second half in learning everything about AI and how can you build something, an AI tool.
Yeah. So, and I'll piggyback off of what you were saying. One thing I love about Full Sail is like from the second AI became a thing. I mean, AI has been around for decades, so it's not like a thing.
Yes.
But
the second it
the revolution of AI, Full Sail immediately embraced it. Like Full Sail was like, let's figure out how to adapt this tool to our education model and what we do, because our students are going to be needing to use it when they get out in the industry. And so that's very, very cool, because I feel like there's a lot of other educational institutions that didn't react that way. Yep. But the leadership here has also been very much, let's find the tool that's the most effective tools for the industries that these students are going into. So let's not waste their time with a bunch of AI tools that have nothing to do with what they're going to do in the workplace. Let's actually have them use the tools that they're going to be using every day in their work environment.
And some of the tools will disappear tomorrow, so also that's why we go through that whole process.
So we have program advisory committee members who come to campus a couple times a year. They give us input on our curriculum. They tell us what AI tools are most relevant in their industries, and so that allows us to adapt and change quite quickly, and is pretty cool. So with that said, because we are running up on time, we have time
for one more question here, and I'm guessing...
And we have a question from the audience.
And a question from the audience.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Kim Kraft. I'm a course director in the Entertainment Business program. I want to thank Haifa, Heather, for hosting this, and to our guests for this wonderful experience for our students. We get very philosophical in my class, and I come with two, forgive me, very dark questions about a future in AI that I always tell my students, please speak with experts, don't guess. Talk about people who are in the field, what do they think about it? And so on behalf of my students, I come with my two dark questions. But first, on behalf of the audience, just in case someone's not familiar, I hope you'll permit me just to give you some quick background. When we talk about AI, we're currently at the generative stage. We're using it as an assistant largely. We train it, it helps us, it does editing, research. Then we get to the agentic stage where we've got it working as in lieu of employees, where I can assign it roles and tasks. The vision is I don't now have to hire a team of entry-level people. I have AI doing all of those jobs. The third level, we get to autonomous AI, where the bricklayer who's thinking, well, all of you white-collar jobs, you're going away, but I'm safe because it can't build homes. Well, it can, because with autonomous AI, we've got robots now that are becoming so high-tech, especially coming out of China, that coupled with AI brains, they will absolutely be able to build homes very soon, faster and better than humans. And then we finally get to recursive AI, where now the AI, of course, doesn't need us anymore for anything because it has become, in a way, sentient. It can train itself. We see it's about, some experts will say it's about 12 months away from it to be fully recursive. I don't know if that's true. I'll certainly defer to what you think. But at this point now, we're also looking at, if we keep taking these levels where we're making AI agentic and then autonomous in the spirit of saving us time and money, we're certainly backing ourselves into a corner as humans where, what are we going to do? And then we have people like Elon Musk suggesting, well, we'll just have universal basic income. But then you get to the point of, well, who's going to pay for that, though, if most people are unemployed doing nothing? Because now you're going to either have to have a very serious decrease in the population, or you're going to have some external form of wealth that we're not sure of right now that's going to be able to pay for that. The other problem, the AI currently is speaking about 1,000 different languages with each other that we don't know what it's saying. Now, being a fan of the Terminator when I was growing up, my two dark questions to all of you now is, where are we going? In your opinion, what might we do when we're, in my just humble opinion, are we setting ourselves up for the darkest doomsday ever? And what can we do? And thank you so much for any thoughts you have on this.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft. Well,
yeah, I'm happy to take this one on.
thank you, Rob.
Yeah, no worries. So again, my personal opinion. I don't know where you went.
Dr. Kraft, she's towards the back here. Yep.
No, you're good. I just thought you disappeared. I was like, what happened? The AI got her. All right, no. So couple quick things. One, a lot of logic jumps there, but I get it, right? It'll paint the doomsday scenario. We can take the logic jumps, and I'll commit to your jumps with you. How about that? All right. They're pretty broad, but it's fine. One, is humanity doomed? No. We've had this same conversation every single time any piece of technology has ever come out ever. Yeah. Okay? We used to talk about how the printing press, and Noah can talk about this probably, with newspapers was going to make, sorry, no. But the printing press was going to revolutionize and destroy humanity. And then it was newspapers, and then it was the internet, and then it was cell phones, and then it's wearables, and then it's
robots.
AI. We've done it over and over and over again. We're really good at painting ourselves as being meek and mild, and that the technology will take us over, right? I don't take that opinion. I think it's catastrophizing the situation overall, and I think it's limiting the human spirit. The one thing that humans are really, really good at is being agile when new technology comes in and setting a level set of boundaries. Now, if you were like, I think the government should put restrictions on this, I'm not a huge fan of anyone doing anything in any way that can restrict things. I think it diminishes the ability for us to continuously innovate as humans. That said, all of that said, there is a path that does look dark. And the way that we stop running down that path is being educated, informed, and advocating for the proper usage, moral, ethical implementations of artificial intelligence, foundationally having principles like human first and last, etc., so that you actually paint and build a future that you want to be a part of versus painting and allowing one to be painted upon you. So that's the short and long answer of that question.
Does anybody else want to comment on that question?
Yeah, I've got a quick one. I love the framing of it, and I think it's very well stated. My grandmother just turned 98 last week. She's still around. She's still with us. This woman not only predates cars for the most part. She predates roads. There were no highways when she was born. She's still alive. Radio, TV, computers, technology, modern mega cities, all of these things that we talk about, that we're talking about, how are we going to preserve our way of life? None of them existed just in her lifetime. And so I think when we look at this idea of change, and you go back, in the 1930s, technology was going to change everything, machines, factories, automation. There's always been a narrative that we're about to lose the modern way of life, but the modern way of life has never been static. So there isn't a thing to preserve. And if you go back prior to COVID, there was a lot of talk about people saying, we're coming near the end of things. Climate change is going to get us. We have to intervene. Here comes AI. And everybody says, well, not like that. We knew that we needed some major change to our culture. We've been on a pretty critical path. A lot of different angles. As a child of the 70s, we talked about overpopulation. When I grew up, the museum exhibits were all about the risks of landfills taking over the whole planet. That's not to say that there are not risks, but I think it's to say that in this early stage, when we're looking at technology stuff, it's easy to over extrapolate. So that is one way of handling a little bit of this, is just to remind ourselves that at no time have we ever not known everything there was to know about the universe, right? But also thought, well, in the past we were wrong. So the technology continues to advance, and our understanding continues to advance. Again, my grandma's older than DNA. So we don't know where we're headed with it. But I think there's other questions here. And I think the way we've been handling it is sort of say we're faced with this trolley problem, and that the answer is not pull the trolley to, toward the one or to the crowd. The answer is stop building trolleys. And that probably isn't the solution either, because what that keeps us from getting to, there's a dystopia here, but there is a utopia vision here where a lot of the things that we did for work that we're counting on for jobs are actually things that only exist because of the larger environment in which they were used. And as AI helps us change that environment, we would be surprised to find that none of the jobs we have right now actually were possible. I couldn't be zooming into Florida, 25 years ago. So I think in 25 years from now, we'll look back and laugh and say, wow, the AI, it had a chance to represent the worst of us. But the good news is we baked in the best of us as well. And if it needs to exist, moralistically, it'll want us around. And so together, I think we'll find a good partnership.
I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Appreciate you, Dr. Kraft.
Okay, we're going to take our last question. Go ahead. Name, program, and then you can ask your question.
Thank you. Yes, sir. It's perfect. Appreciate you. Once again, thank you all again for y'all's time and information that y'all have shared with us. My name is Kijana Garmin. I am a film master's student. I really appreciate Noah's example of how he found a way to use AI to the benefit of your niche, with gaming and with implementing a crime element into it. As a film student, I want to take advantage of this time and ask, how do any of you all see AI impacting storytelling and visual media within the next about 5 years maybe? And how can a film student like myself better prepare to keep up?
That's a great question.
I love your question. Okay. Noah, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it. Sorry to dominate the screen time here. Real quick, I can make this 30 seconds. So Hollywood to date has been a world of no. So my co-founder, Elliot Wolf, has been working in Hollywood for 10 years, and he comes from the Wolf family, Law and Order, and tons of great shows. And the answer they hear the most when they want to get ideas produced is no. It's still no. That the studio system has built kind of a world of such high risk investment to get something made at scale that by default they have to be very selective in the ideas that they can choose. So regardless of how good of a writer you are, how good of a director, how great the idea is, how great the answer is still default no. Mm-hmm. But for you, the answer is make whatever you want. You have no boundaries whatsoever. You now have the capability to dream up a script, invent your cast, make any shot you can dream of, and distribute it in front of hundreds and millions of people with no boundaries whatsoever. And so the only question I would have to you is, why aren't you? You know, what is the value of going through somebody else's system when you could build your whole own audience yourself? Just start making. You got great ideas. You know you do. Make them. There's no boundary there. It's never been easier to go from idea to audience.
Awesome.
I love it. Exactly. Anyone else has anything to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing that I'll add is that there's going to be hyper-personalization in storytelling, right? Where if I want my character to go through X path with generative AI and what's available, it's going to go through that path. So you have no bounds on what you can create, like Noah said. You can also enable the user to augment their journey through entertainment in a way that is inconceivable or 100% impossible up until 2 years ago. So that's something to keep in mind. Think about that hyper-personalization aspect of it as well. It happens on web and e-commerce. It's going to come to entertainment in some way. And I would trend track on what your biggest providers in the entertainment space are doing, right? Netflix has $600,000 generative AI project manager jobs.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to continuously change. So just be aware and be present.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then if you're going to be using AI tools to create the movie that Noah talked about, make sure that you have your print on everything. Check everything. Make sure that it has your vision. It's really what you're trying to produce and not what AI is trying to produce. So
make it your own.
Make it your own, exactly.
Amen.
Okay?
Man, I really appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was an amazing topic today, amazing episode. I'm so happy we had it. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank our audience, you guys. Good job on all the great questions, and thank you for being here. What a great turnout. So, and our panelists, of course, we have to thank you guys because you guys did such a great job. Let's give them a round of applause.
Alex and Rob, and Noah and Kristen for your time. We really appreciate your insight, the advice you gave, the examples, personal examples you gave. Rob, we really appreciate you made it. So we're lucky to have you with us, but everyone, thank you for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as everyone else here. Heather, here you go again. Another successful Tech Tuesday.
Yeah. We always enjoy doing these together. Yes. It's a lot of fun, and we do appreciate the turnout, so thanks for your support, and we will see you guys again the next time we have a Tech Tuesday or Taking Flight.
Have an amazing afternoon. Thank you all.